My name is Serigne Mbaye. I'm from West Africa, Senegal. I was born in New York City, but I was raised in West Africa in the countryside, Senegal. And I returned back to America at the age of 14, turning 15. And my mom was the first African woman who created, to bring Senegalese restaurant in Harlem. But the restaurant was only for 5 years. It was not successful. But long story short, over years, my mom had like a lot of taxis, people working for day and night. So my tribes, like my great-grandmothers, they're all known for the cooking. I was very close growing up with my mom when I was young. So I always helped her out when she cooked, even at age of young people, because it's this word in Senegal, it's called tranga. So when guests come over, it's like hospitality. It's part of the culture, you know. So when a guest arrives in your house, you want to give them the best experiences possible. And I was always one, I remember, as like my parents told me as 5 and 4, I was always one to bring out the first glass for the guests, like make sure they have water or make sure they have Sprite or whatever the case might be. I know that my last name's is standing for, like, if somebody from a different tribe is Africa, it's like, because first thing they ask you was your last name. And then, because if somebody asks your last name, they could go back in generations, seeing like good things that your last name is known for. And we're known for eating and doing good food. So my mom always make me do things that she didn't want to do, which is cool. Like make sure I cut the onions because my eyes was always crying. Make sure I wash the dishes when she's done, clean the oven. So basically I was like a porter every day, you know, make sure everything is clean. Because back home, majority of our cooking is one pot, you know. Back then people didn't have no burners. They used wood fire to make, you know. So you have to understand when the vegetables should go in, when the rice should go in, when the meat should go in. So basically it's all patience. If you're not patient enough, that the dish won't come out as good and great. So you have this one pot and one flame of heat, and you have to understand what time certain each ingredient should come in. So if you don't have a patient, it does not come out right. And when I was in boarding school, at the age of 9 years old, 8, I cooked for 600 people. Whether it's good or not, people ate it. But the satisfaction behind it was that when I was in Senegal, when I was in boarding school specifically, people were happy when I cooked because they know that it's time Serigne to cook. Within 10 years, I saw my mom maybe less than 6 times. I didn't remember her because only thing I remember of her was that when she came to Senegal, back in the 90s, she was very known in Senegal, like very known. Every time she was in Senegal, a lot of people came to her house because she had the best hospitality, which is called teranga. When I came back 14, 13, I didn't speak any English at all. I didn't know how to write my name in English. So only language I spoke at the time was Wolof and a little bit of French. But I didn't go to French school, but I picked it up from the streets. And we used a lot of French words in Senegal because it was conquered by French. And Arabic, which is what I learned. So I knew how to write my name in Arabic, but not in English. I wanted to go to school. I wanted to be educated, you know. I stayed in New York by myself, paying $750 a month, working 2 jobs and still going to high school. And by senior year, I was working at this restaurant called the Harrison in New York City. That's where I started dishwashing. And when I was a dishwasher over there, I hated that job. But every time I see the chef plate a dish, I get happy. So I get upset, but when I see the chef just on action, I always picture myself in like a couple of years just doing that, you know, just being that guy, you know. And as soon as you come in, like people realize his presence. To me, that was always important, you know. And until one time he gave me a chance to work in salad, and I cut myself 9 times. And then he's like, you know, you're gonna go back to Porter. So I cleaned the restaurant, cleaned the hoods overnight. At that moment, I was not really thinking about West African cuisine. I knew how to cook it. I was always scared how people would, because I feel like the flavor was very picante, you know, it was very intense. I always looked at, man, people are just gonna look at me. He's a young kid, he don't know what he's talking about. But when I saw Chef Pierre Cham book of research about him, and I was just so inspired by his story. Not to mention so much older than I am, but he'd been working in the restaurant for quite a while. So, and I found out he had a James Beard nominated. He was nominated for James Beard Award, and also his first book won Julia Child cover page, which was great. And I followed him on social media. Miraculously, he followed me back, and then I sent him a message like, "I'm so inspired by you, chef, this, that, and that, and I hope one day I will get to work for you." And then not thinking that he was going to respond back, but for some reason he responded back to me. I was just like, what? And then he was like, yeah, I'm happy to hear that, but you should go back to your roots. That's what he told me throughout the message. And I didn't know what that meant. And I sat down, thought about it. I'm like, I need to really go back to my roots. So I went to Senegal last summer for about a month and a half, for the whole summer, no pay. I was learning, I was teaching, I went to the countryside. I just saw culinary from a different perspective. It just really made me realize that Senegalese cuisine is a cuisine that need to be heard. I always go without I just wake up and just gone. I always have like 1-2 cases and just wake up and just leave. And then I went to I was my flying back to New York, and I met this guy named Cliff, which is the owner of New Orleans Fish House. He was like, man, you should come to the South. I have one of my best friends. His name is Chef Tori. He's a great chef. I was like, oh, okay, because I'm a hairnet. He's like, oh, well, went home, researched about him, like everything to know about a chef. And I was just very inspired by New Orleans. I've never been to New Orleans. I was like, I came here, but when I came here, I didn't really care about any money or anything. I just wanted something different. So I didn't really care about how much. But when I came, it was a little tough. But I worked my way up, and Commander Chef Tori specifically helped me out to work. I always could take the heat, picante, but New Orleans could take it than any other state. So I'm like, wow, this is similar to Senegal. A lot of the ingredients that they get is very local, which is how we do in Senegal. The vegetables very local, and the sauce is just amazing. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do pop-up dinner, like Senegalese influenced by Creole. A Creole influenced by West Africa, and just play different ingredients, because a lot of ingredients that we have in Senegal is funny we have in New Orleans.